Welcome back to Knicks Deli. I need everybody to stop dismissing the NBA Cup, okay? There is something happening right now with Knicks fans that I think we're going to look back on years from now, and I think we're going to laugh about it. And it's actually something that's understandable, because after waiting 53 years for an NBA championship, we suddenly have so much to celebrate that we're starting to argue about which accomplishment deserves more celebration. I want you to think about how ridiculous that sentence would have sounded 3 years ago. Knicks fans, we are debating which trophy we should brag about, and we letting the ops divide us. Fam, we got multiple trophies to argue about now. That's where we are. But I've been seeing this conversation about the NBA Cup, and there's one particular argument that keeps popping up. Why aren't we calling this historic? The NBA Cup has only existed for 3 years. I've seen Knicks fans say, why are we calling it historic? Okay? It's only the third NBA Cup. So when you say NBA history, you're talking about 3 teams. That's their argument. And you know what? Technically, they're right. The sample size is tiny. The NBA Cup history right now is basically 3 dudes standing at a bus stop. You got the Lakers, you got the Bucks, you got us, we got the Knicks, and that's it. But here's where I think people are looking at this completely backwards. Because the fact of the matter is that the NBA Cup is only 3 years old. That doesn't make what the Knicks accomplished less historically significant. It might actually be the exact reason that it is historically significant. Because somebody had to be first. And I got news for you, Knicks fans. The New York Knicks were first. The New York Knicks became the first team in NBA history to win the NBA Cup and the NBA championship in the same season. That'll forever be ours. That's ours. And I don't care if this tournament exists for another 5 years, 20 years, 50 years, or eventually becomes one of the most prestigious accomplishments on the NBA calendar. Nobody can go backward and become the first team to do the double, drop them doubles. That's already been claimed. And Knicks fans, it's been claimed by us. Don't let them box you out of your place in history. Think about how sports history actually works. This is where I think Knicks fans sometimes confuse longevity with history. All fans. Sometimes something doesn't need to be old before history can happen. History begins the moment something exists. Every tradition that feels ancient today once had a year one. Every trophy somebody reveres today once had a first champion. Every record book had to start somewhere. There was a first NBA championship. There was a first Finals MVP. There was a first three-point champion. There was a first play-in tournament. There was a first championship after the merger. There was a first whatever. Somebody always has to establish the benchmark that everybody else spends the next several decades chasing, spends it matching, spends it surpassing. And that's what New York just did with the NBA Cup. NBA's trying to brush us past this historic moment. The Lakers won the first NBA Cup. That belongs to them. Milwaukee, the second. That belongs to them. The Knicks won the third. But the Knicks did something neither of those teams did. They finished the job. They won the cup. And then the whole damn league had to bow down when we won a chip. And suddenly the NBA Cup has a proof of concept that it didn't have before. Because let's remember what people said about this tournament. When the NBA introduced the in-season tournament, people laughed. Go back on my channel. I didn't. I talked about it being genius. Let's not rewrite history, folks. People made jokes about the courts. People made jokes about the trophy. People made jokes about hanging banners. People call it manufactured. People called it meaningless. People asked, why should anybody care about this damn tournament? And honestly, it wasn't an unreasonable question at that time, because the NBA can't simply announce something that matters and expect 80 years of basketball culture to magically attach itself to it. Prestige doesn't work like that. Prestige has to accumulate. It needs a moment. It needs players. It needs heartbreak. It needs rivalries. It needs history. And most importantly, it needs somebody to prove that winning it can mean something beyond the one night in Las Vegas. Well, hello, New York Knicks. Because the Knicks just gave the NBA Cup something it desperately needed. Just like we did for the NBA, we gave it mythology. Now there's a story to attach this tournament that future teams can chase. Win the cup, then win the championship. Complete the double. And every single time somebody does it from now on, guess whose name that gets mentioned? The New York Knicks. That's how being first works. Let's say this tournament becomes a real fixture in NBA culture. Let's say we're sitting here in 2046, 20 years from now, and some powerhouse team wins the NBA Cup in December. Immediately, what's going to happen? People are going to start asking, can they complete the double? And eventually somebody will. Maybe multiple teams will. Maybe it becomes one of those accomplishments where we start keeping the list. Teams that won the cup and championship in the same season. And when they show that graphic, once again, guess who's sitting at the top of the list? 2025, 2026. Your New York Knicks first. You can't erase that. Somebody on Reddit made essentially that exact point. They said, no matter what the cup becomes 10 or 20 years from now, every team that completes the double gets compared with the first. And that's what I think people aren't appreciating yet. Right now, I understand we're standing too close to the moment. And here's where the story gets beautiful for us. Because the NBA Cup wasn't separate from the Knicks championship season, it was a foreshadowing. That's what makes this so fascinating. Go back to December. The Knicks get to Las Vegas. And who's waiting for us? The San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama. That young monster. All respect to him. That team, everybody knows, is on their way up. The Knicks beat San Antonio 124-113 and become the third NBA Cup champion. OG Anunoby goes for 28. Brunson has 25 and 8 assists. Mitchell Robinson grabbed 15 rebounds, including 10 offensive boards. And Jalen Brunson walks away with the NBA Cup MVP, averaging 33 points a game in cup play. New York finally has another trophy. First since Knicks trophy since 1973. And here's what's important. Nobody on that team acted like the mission was finished. The Brunson-taker essentially said, we're going to enjoy this, and then we're moving on. And as always, that mentality matters. Because the cup wasn't treated as the destination, as a Paul Pierce tried to point it. It was treated as evidence. Evidence that this group could play under pressure and they could raise their level. Evidence that this group could win elimination basketball. Evidence that this roster could walk into a game with hardware sitting courtside and perform. Evidence that Jalen Brunson could be the best player in a tournament where everybody knows exactly what's at stake. Everybody was already crowning the alien at that time. And evidence that when things get tight, the New York Knicks won't shrink. At the time, we didn't know how prophetic that would become. The cup was a trailer. The NBA championship, we seen the evidence, was a movie. That's how I see it now. December gave us the trailer. June gave us the full feature presentation. Because look at the parallels. NBA Cup championship, Knicks versus Spurs. NBA Finals, Knicks versus Spurs. Jalen Brunson, Finals, NBA Finals MVP, Cup MVP, Jalen Brunson. Cup champions, New York Knicks. NBA championship, New York Knicks. You couldn't write the symmetry any cleaner than that. Same opponent, same superstar, same result, different trophy. And that makes the NBA Cup part of the championship mythology right now. It wasn't some meaningless side quest. It was chapter 1. And your boy Big Body Brunson, part of this needs to take part of this conversation because I'm documenting the Brunson era while it's happening. This is the Knickstorian, okay? We're not waiting until everybody retires. We're not waiting 20 years for ESPN to make a documentary. We're keeping the receipts right now. And the receipts on Jalen Brunson are starting to get pretty ridiculous. This man won the NBA Cup MVP. This man then won the NBA Finals MVP in the same season. And if that isn't enough, let's talk about how he finished the championship. Game 5 on the road, San Antonio. The Knicks are trying to close out a 53-year championship drought that way. And Brunson scores 45 points. 45! That became the most points ever scored by a Knick in the NBA Finals game, passing Willis Reed's previous franchise record of 38. Think about whose name I just said. I just said Willis Reed. That is the neighborhood Brunson lives in now. And those 45 points put him in an absurdly exclusive category. Only 4 players in NBA history have scored at least 45 points in a finals clinching game. We talking about Bob Pettit, Michael Jordan, Giannis, and Jalen Brunson. And only Jordan and Brunson did it on the road. That's not Knicks fan emotion. That's NBA history. Don't let them ops convince you out of your spot. But remember the context. This wasn't a Knicks team that squeaked through some weak postseason. New York went 16-3 in the playoffs. 16-3. Yeah, we forever gonna talk all talk. That's an 84% winning percentage. One of the best in postseason history in terms of percentages. And they didn't just beat the San Antonio Spurs. They kept coming back against San Antonio. The Knicks trailed by double digits in all 4 victories of that finals. I want you to think about that again. They won the finals 4 games to 1, trailing double digits in every game they won. That's insane, folks. Game 4, we were down 29 points in the NBA Finals, and we came back. OG Anunoby finishes it with the tip in with 1.2 seconds left. Double pause. And that became the largest comeback in NBA history in terms of the finals. So when we talk about this season, we're not just talking about, hey, the Knicks finally won one. That's what the ops want you to focus on and then move past. Nah, B, we ain't doing that. This is one of the most unusual championship runs the league will ever see. And the cup absolutely belongs inside of that story. Which brings me back to the argument. When someone says, there have only been 3 cups. Okay. And your point is, that's precisely why the New York Knicks had the opportunity to establish something. You don't get to be first at something after 50 other teams already did it. You don't get to be first at that. That's kind of how first works. And here's another comment I thought was interesting that I see floating around. Someone basically said, if anything, it's more interesting that it only took 3 cups before a cup winner also won the finals. Yes, that's the conversation. Because remember what happened the first 2 cup champions? They didn't turn their cup championship into NBA championships. That's what happened. So naturally, people wondered whether the tournament actually told us anything about June. Was this tournament predictive? Did it reveal championship DNA? Or was it just a fun event in December meant to get players to play? And then your New York Knicks came along and said, both, mother flipper. Knicks fans, we legitimized the cup. And this is where I think the NBA itself should lean into New York's accomplishment much more heavily. Adam Silver, I need you to listen, bro. I'm marketing the hell out of this. You spent years trying to convince fans that the NBA Cup matters. Well, congratulations. The New York Knicks just gave you the strongest marketing argument you've ever had. You don't need a commercial explaining why players should care. You don't need to manufacture the stakes anymore. Just roll the footage. Show them Las Vegas. Show them big body Brunson, the Undertaker holding the cup for MVP and the trophy. Show the Knicks celebrating. And then cut to June. Show the Spurs again. Show OG's tip. Show Brunson dropping 45 of them things. Show the Larry O'Brien trophy. Then put 2 words on the screen. The double. That's it. Send me my check. Commercial over. Because now every contender entering the NBA Cup has a blueprint. You want to do what the Knicks did? Win in December. Then finish the job in June. It's almost going to be a prerequisite. And that's what actually gives the cup an identity. Soccer fans already understand this concept. Different competitions, you have different trophies, different accomplishments, and when a club captures multiple major trophies in the same season, the combination becomes part of the story. The NBA has never really operated that way. There was one ultimate prize, the Larry O'Brien trophy. Everything else was mostly individual awards, conference trophies, and banners. But now, another team competition sitting inside the season, and the Knicks became the first franchise to connect the two. That's the key. We connected December basketball to June basketball. The NBA Cup wasn't the championship. Nobody is saying that. Let's kill that straw man immediately. Nobody is putting the NBA Cup on the same level as the Larry O'Brien trophy. I can already see you cats in the comments. But that's not required for the accomplishment to matter. The cup can be meaningful without being equal to an NBA championship. Those ideas can coexist. And as Knicks fans, why are we even trying to downplay the hardware? Raise the mother flipping banners. This is the part that's hilarious to me. Fam, do y'all remember where we came from? We spent decades celebrating individual playoff games. We had years where making the second round felt like a parade. We celebrated Christmas Day wins in them ugly ass green jerseys. We celebrated draft lottery positioning. We talking about who would sit on the stand and represent us to bring us good luck. Respectfully, there were seasons where the biggest victory was simply not being a national embarrassment. And now, we're championship rich for 6 months, and suddenly there's trophy snobs. I don't know if this particular trophy meets my standards. You motherfucker, you done lost your damn eyes. Look at the shelf. Put that thing up right there. We earned it. This team gave us too much to brag about. And that's actually what one Reddit response said that made me laugh. Somebody sarcastically called them the greatest team in NBA history because Jordan never won the cup. Obviously, they were joking. And the response was basically, at this point, the problem is there's too much stuff to brag about. This is true. And that is funny because it's true. Think about the list. Your Knicks won the East. Your Knicks won the NBA Cup. Your Knicks beat San Antonio for the Cup. Your Knicks beat San Antonio again for the Larry O'Brien Trophy when it was on the line. Your Knicks completed the first NBA dub. They produced the largest comeback in finals history. Your captain won Cup MVP. Your captain won Finals MVP. Your captain scored 45 in the clincher. Your Knicks went 16-3 in the playoffs. Need I say more? Your Knicks ended a 53-year championship drought. There is so much history packed in one season that we're already starting to normalize pieces of it. Don't do that. Don't let them do that to you. That's exactly why I'm doing these Knickstorian videos. This is a Knickstorian thing, a new thing I'm doing. We're detailing some of these things and blending them together. 10 years from now, people will forget how insane this felt in real time. 20 years from now, younger Knicks fans are going to know the results without knowing the emotion. And that's where documenting the era matters. Knicks fans, I need you to listen to me on this afternoon. This wasn't just a championship, bro. There's chapters to it. And the NBA Cup was one of the most important chapters. Because before Larry O'Brien and us getting that trophy, before the parade where fathers cried with their sons, before Brunson became Finals MVP, before the 45-point closeout, before the 29-point comeback, before OG's miraculous tip-in, there was Las Vegas. There was the alien supposed to be crowned on that day. There was Wembanyama. There was a trophy sitting there waiting for somebody to take it. And the Knicks took it. That was the first piece of hardware telling us maybe this team is different. Do you remember the level of play we ascended to? And there's another piece of the Brunson story. Think about what his career represents. This isn't a number 1 overall pick who arrived with the Nike campaign telling us he was destined to save New York. This isn't LeBron James. This isn't Wembanyama. This isn't somebody whose greatness was prepackaged for us. This is a second-round pick. 33 overall, undersized, questioned. Played behind Luka in Dallas, came to New York with people wondering whether the Knicks overpaid him. Then became an all-NBA player. Then became captain. Then became clutch player of the year. Then became Cup MVP. Then became NBA champion. Then Finals MVP. Now Walt Clyde Frazier's putting his name in conversations with himself, Willis Reed, and Patrick Ewing. That escalation happened in front of us. That's why the Cup MVP matters in the larger Brunson story. Because it became the first major team trophy of his Knicks tenure. And then 6 months later, he stood there holding the biggest individual trophy, the NBA Finals, the Bill Russell Finals MVP trophy. That's a visual story there. December, Brunson holding one MVP trophy. June, Brunson holding another. And between those two images sits an entire transformation from contender to champion. So what does the NBA Cup mean now? That's actually the interesting question. Not, is the NBA Cup as important as the championship? Obviously it's not. But the question is, what can it become? Because traditions aren't born prestigious. They become prestigious because generations of athletes attach meaning to them. And the Knicks, your Knicks, just attached a massive piece of meaning to it. The first double. Imagine another team doing it next year. Us. And another 5 years from now. Then another 10 years from now. Suddenly we're talking about an exclusive club. Maybe 20 years from now, there have only been 6 teams to accomplish it. And every team that list appears, New York is first. 2025, your 2025-26 New York Knicks. Every time that list appears, that's what history means. And this is why I'm not letting people minimize our season. Had to hop on here to discuss this. Because I know how sports memory works. Time compresses everything. You see, he done put the Sixers on our calendar. He's trying to push past this and reduce our season to sentences. Before it used to be they almost won it. The 99 Knicks, the 8th seed to go to the finals. Then we had the mellow years where the great scorer couldn't get over the hump. Complex errors start becoming paragraphs. Paragraphs become sentences. Sentences start to become trivia on Jeopardy. So while we're living through this, the emotion, the context, the jokes, the doubt, the disrespect, the way the Garden sounded, the way we as fans traveled arena to arena, the comebacks, the cup, the championship, all of it. Nobody did it like us. This is the Brunson era. And now we know exactly where this era sits in Knicks history. It produced a championship. So yes, the cup is only 3 years old. Congratulations to you haters. You have identified how calendars work. But somebody still had to write the first great chapter, and your New York Knicks did it. It just happened to be your New York Knicks. The Lakers can forever say they won the cup first. They forever got that, and we respect that. Milwaukee can say they won it second. They got that. We respect that. But even those two, at the end, were looked at with a side eye. But we now own the spot in the history book. The first team to win the cup and championship, both in the same season. Throwing up them dubs. Another part of that I absolutely love, though, for us, I love that for us. We didn't beat 2 different teams for those trophies. We beat the same team. San Antonio got the preview in December of that belt the ass moment, that feature presentation in June, baby. So you can't say we beat whack competition. Spurs saw the Knicks celebrating in Vegas, and 6 months later, they watched us celebrate in the championship. And standing in the middle of both celebrations was who? The Brundertaker. Cup MVP, Finals MVP, Captain, Champion. That's the story. So when the next hater come up to you and say the NBA Cup doesn't have enough history for this to matter, I want you to look at them and say this. You're watching the history being created. That's the point. History isn't only something that happens before you were born. Sometimes you're sitting on a couch watching it happen. Sometimes you're arguing about it on Reddit while it's happening. Sometimes you don't understand what you're looking at until 20 years later. But this one, we don't have to wait. The Knicks won the NBA Cup. They won the NBA championship. They became the first team to complete the double. You ain't gotta wait for none of that. And every team that does it afterward will be following a trail that was first walked by your 25-26 New York Knicks. That's ours forever. And after 53 years of damn waiting, I'm putting everything in the trophy case, mother flipper. I don't care what y'all talking about. The cup, the Larry O'Brien trophy, Cup MVP, Finals MVP, 16-3 postseason, 29-point comeback, 45-piece. All of that mother flipper gets displayed. Because for the decades, Knicks fans lived on memories alone. Now when we start making them, we're not just watching Knicks history. We're going to start documenting this mother flipper. And this chapter belongs to the New York Knicks. The first double chips. Talk to me. Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. I really got to get off of here. There's no struggle, there's no progress. But also remember this. Whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, baby. Everybody eats. I'm your boy Shia. And I'm out. Peace.